Hello from Ottawa, my new home, the city of maple trees and black squirrels. And welcome to the second program, Literary Gems, where I am sharing about what I see and what I read. In September 2022, I continued my regular reading of the world literature. In 1001 Night, I learned an interesting Arabic phrase. إذا كانت بغير المال محبة فلا تساوي وزن حبة. This saying is based on two rhymed words, love, mahabba, and grain, habba. The literary translation of this Arabic phrase is, if love is without money, it does not equal the weight of a grain, which means without paying a price, love is lighter than a grain of wheat. This phrase reminded me of two sayings of Jesus Christ in the Gospel of John, one about a grain and the other one about love. John 12:24, unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it bears much fruit. And John 15:13, greater love has no one than this, that someone lay down his life for his friends. In the Arabic Bible translation, the same words are used, habba and mahabba. I will not comment on these two verses, but let you think about them and draw your conclusion about how they are connected to each other and to the Arabic phrase from 1001 Night. I also continued reading the Azerbaijani novel Deli Kür, Turbulent Kura, by one of the 20th century Azerbaijani authors named Ismail Shıkhlı. Some precious thoughts I wanted to share with you are on the screen right now. İnsan çok zaman kıymetli bir şeyi elden verenden, onun kadrini bilmeyip itirenden sonra ayılır. It means a person usually begins realizing the value of something only after losing it. The story has some more significant lessons to learn, of course, but this short phrase summarizes it. One of the characters treated his wife harshly, repeatedly made her cry, but when she disappeared, and he thought he might have lost her, he suddenly felt how valuable she was to him, and he regretted that he didn't value her while she was with him. I think there is a lesson here for all of us to learn. Better earlier than later. I continued reading our Ukrainian poet Taras Shevchenko's poems in chronological order, this time from 1840 to 1845. In the poem titled Himalaya, I made an interesting discovery. Shevchenko wrote this poem about the place in Istanbul, which I visited so many times, and you can see this video from only 3 months ago, June 2022, when I was in that place. Shevchenko said, "Отак у Скутарі козаки співали." In the English translation by John Ware, "'Twas thus in Scutari that Cossacks were singing." If you are familiar with Istanbul, you may know the district called Üsküdar on the Asian side of the city, by the Bosphorus. That is Shevchenko's Scutari. The Bosphorus bridge is very close to that place, and there are boats carrying people to the European side, to Beşiktaş, and to the historical peninsula of what used to be Constantinopolis. Well, Shevchenko's story is about old times. It describes how Cossacks, centuries ago, would suddenly come to Üsküdar and attack a prison there, to set the imprisoned fellow Cossacks free. Thank God the horrible enmity and fight between Ukrainians and Turks remained in the past. Today, Turkey helps us release our heroes, the modern-day Cossacks, from Russians who torture them in the most horrible ways. Just a few days ago, 5 heroes, defenders of Mariupol, were released, and Turkey helped release them, and they will stay in Turkey until the end of the war, under the personal protection of the President of Turkish Republic. So, instead of the horrible Scutari, we have friendly Üsküdar today. That's a fantastic change. Another interesting poem by Taras Shevchenko that I read last month was The Heretic, dedicated to John Huss. It's interesting that John Huss was a Czech theologian from the Catholic Church who opposed many aspects of that church, was a reformer, and in his beliefs was closer to early Protestantism. He was not an Orthodox Christian, and yet Taras Shevchenko calls him a saint and a great martyr. Right now you can see the last lines of the poem on the screen. I will not read it in Ukrainian. I'll read it in the English translation by John Ware. I pray to God that all Slavs as faithful brothers, as one man should stand, true sons of the Son of Justice, and heretics grand, such as was the deathless martyr that at Constance flamed. They'll bring peace to all the nations and eternal fame. Unfortunately, Russians rejected this brotherhood and always wanted to dominate and rule over other Slavs, at least over the Eastern Slavic nations like Belarus and Ukraine. I join Shevchenko's prayer. I pray to God that we, the Slavs, be heretics, such as the deathless martyr who was burned at a stake at Constance. Because heretic here is irony. This is not a heresy. In fact, this is the true faith and true love. John Huss is one of the heroes of faith, people who loved God and trusted God. He was faithful to death. There was one more book I read during the past month. It is a prayer journal by Flannery O'Connor. I was impressed by those prayers that she wrote when she was in her early 20s, just beginning to work on her first novel. Let me share some quotes with you. My dear God, please let Christian principles permeate my writing, and please let there be enough of my writing published for Christian principles to permeate. I dread, O Lord, losing my faith. My mind is not strong. It is a prey to all sorts of intellectual quackery. I do not want it to be fear which keeps me in the church. I don't want to be a coward, staying with you because I fear hell. I don't want to fear to be out. I want to love to be in. I don't want to believe in hell, but in heaven. Stating this does me no good. It is a matter of the gift of grace. Dear God, tonight it is not disappointing, because you have given me a story. Don't let me ever think, dear God, that I was anything but the instrument for your story, just like the typewriter was mine. Please let the story, dear God, in its revisions, be made too clear for any false and low interpretation. I must write down that I am to be an artist. I want to be the best artist it is possible for me to be, under God. Dear God, please help me to be an artist. Please let it lead to you. These prayers make me wonder about Flannery O'Connor and her first novel, Wise Blood. I hope I'll take time to read it in future, and maybe I'll find some gems in it. At least the author sounds sincere in her relationship with God. And in the meantime, I am planning to continue reading Ukrainian, Azerbaijani, and Arabic literature. I will probably not continue reading 1001 Night, but switch to reading some other literature in Arabic, some other Arab literature. And I'm looking forward to finding more treasures during my readings and to sharing them with you.